Hello, this is the SharePoint Framework, a JavaScript special interest group bi-weekly sync. It is September 26th, 2019. We've got another great call for you here today. Thank you, everybody who's joining us on the phone and then watching us later in the recording. So our agenda for today, as normal, for the first parts, updates on SharePoint Framework, updates on the patterns and practices offerings, and then we've got two great demos today. The first from Alaa on saving a modern site, kind of an end-to-end solution with saving a template and then re-provisioning that through Azure Functions and some pieces there. Very good stuff. And then from George, a trainee tracking solution for used in MS Teams, but built with SharePoint Framework. So very excited to see those two demos later in the call. But first things first, we always like to talk about opportunities to participate in SharePoint. I have to click for each. I got to click for all four of them now, Vesa. Opportunities to participate in the Patterns and Practices program. Of course, I always encourage everybody to reach out to us on the demos. I think the demos are some of the best parts of these calls because it gets you out there in the community an opportunity to demo the great work you're doing, and then for all of us in the community to learn from the great work you're doing. I know it's always neat to see the different things the folks are doing out there with their work, because I know I always learn stuff, and not being quite as tightly in the field as I used to be, it's always really neat to see what people are working on and then take that knowledge and see what we can do better on our side, on the PnP side, to provide better tools for folks. So those demos can be anything around SharePoint Framework, anything related to any of the @PnP offerings. So the CLI, the controls, the Yeoman generator, or PnP JS are all valid or all together in one demo. Would be neat to see as well. And then any part of SharePoint Framework, so Webparts, application customizers, all sorts of stuff like that. Love to see it. If you are interested in demoing, please reach out to myself, Patrick, or Vesa, and we would love to get you on the calendar. We are booked up a couple of months out at this point, but don't worry, we'll get you booked. It might just not be right away. So don't take that as a bad sign. We will get you booked. We'll get you a session. Would love to have you demo, so please do reach out to us. You can, of course, always also contribute on GitHub, and that can take any number of forms. So reporting issues, or submitting pull requests, or helping others who might have issues or questions that they've submitted to any of the lists. And any of the @PnP projects absolutely encourage and welcome you to get involved, whether that's pull requests, or reporting issues, or helping with issues. Do please get involved. The community helps make everybody stronger and helps make everybody able to do better work a little bit quicker, because sometimes people have questions, and if everybody's waiting for, say just me to answer them, or any other particular person to answer them, sometimes we're busy, we can't get to them very quickly. So if you can help out, that's always great. It helps people get moving a little bit faster. And then finally, we always appreciate the feedback you all give us on the work we're doing. So how are these calls? How are these special interest group calls? How are our monthly calls? How is our documentation? We always know documentation can be better, but where specifically can we, are our documentation lacking, or what can we make a little bit more clear? And where else can we help? What other kinds of tools, what other kinds of guidance would be helpful to folks out there doing development? And finally, I always like to mention positive feedback is okay too. We always like to hear what we're doing well, because then we can do a little bit more of that. So if you, like, for example, if you love the jokes at the beginning of the call, would love to hear that. We can incorporate more jokes into the calls as we move forward. So a couple of items here, just links and reminders of where to go for things. So the SharePoint Dev Docs, SPDev-Docs, is the SharePoint developer documentation all up. So that's SharePoint Framework, as well as the add-in development, as well as the classic kind of WSP package development. It's been so long since I've done that, had to think about it for a little bit. So all your SharePoint developer documentation has moved there. So if you have any, that's your first start there. And then as well, SPDev-Videos is a great resource for all of not just the PnP videos, but a lot of topical videos on SharePoint Framework development specifically. And some of it dives into certain topic areas. There's some series on getting started with certain features and things like that. So also a great resource. And I myself go check those out from time to time to remind myself of certain areas that I might not use every day. And then finally, the spdev-issues list is a place to report any bugs and stuff you might find, problems with SharePoint Framework, problems with SharePoint as a product as well. All that can go into that issues list. Great place to ask questions. But as I have personally learned, if you have suggestions for features, that's going to be the better place there is for the user voice. But so issues is focused on problems or things you might have encountered that are causing you some type of difficulty. So moving forward, SharePoint Framework updates. I'll hand things over to Vesa.
So a few updates from my side. So first of all, numbers are looking insanely good still. So as you can see, the last weeks have been actually been pretty crazy, considering the fact that on summertime, the adoption always kind of slightly slowed down. And then on the end of the August, it started again skyrocketing. So we are actually growing at the rate of 10 to 15% month over month, which is quite awesome as well, because it means that people are loving SPFx and modern experiences and building stuff on the SPFx either for Microsoft Teams or for the SharePoint, or actually for both, because the same implementation works on both sides. So massive adoption. Now, so on the slide, just to explain, we do not expose exact numbers and what millions and millions we're talking here, because the metric which we use internally in Microsoft would not make any sense for you, and we don't want to have a 30-minute video explaining how do we calculate this. And that's really why I'm not exposing exactly the number and how many users, and because how many users is not actually as interesting as how many users are using how many applications which are built using SharePoint Framework, because that's the real usage. It's not about just the absolute users, but also if the user is using one or two or more application, it has a different impact. Now, moving on things on the slides on my side. So let me actually move forward. A few updates on the SharePoint Dev roadmap side. We are closing into the Ignite, so we're not going to announce too many things, most likely before Ignite. We're planning to do 1.10 release in September, and mainly concentrating on the allocation of SPFx extension areas during UI loading. I'll get back on that one in the next slide. And then a list subscription with SPFx. Both of these actually will not require SharePoint Framework, a new version of SharePoint Framework. So most likely what will happen is that we will not release a 1.10 in September, potentially not even in October, but we'll push out the features to be available, and we announce that you're able to start testing them. For other topics, so Office add-ins with SharePoint Framework, we're still building on that one. So that's going to arrive on preview quite soon. We showed that one in build first time this year. Content security policy is being built. CSAM in .NET Standard. It seems to be that we might actually get this one to preview in October, which would be kind of cool. At the same time, it might be that due announcement plan, it might be that we'll delay that until Ignite. Ignite is on 4th to 6th or 7th of November. So anyway, store story on SPFx solutions is being tested right now. I can't give you an ETA because there might be still updates on that one, and the timing is still is unclear. And we're looking into having a new lookbook templates and a new provisioning service. So pretty soon you can actually provision really cool looking updated SharePoint Online portal templates and examples using our provisioning service as well. So cool stuff definitely coming. Now, before we go to the other areas, I wanted to actually explain what the new feature related on allocating SPFx extension areas during the UI rendering actually means. So I quickly drew a picture. Let me explain what it actually means. So as part of the application customizers, which right now we have the top placeholder and the bottom placeholder. One of the things what many of our ISVs and partners are saying that, and customers are saying that, well, it's not, the loading of those extensions is not optimal, because what happens is that we first load the page and then suddenly the page moves slightly because the header or the footer is getting rendered. And that basically then flicker makes this kind of a flicker effect on the page, and that's not an optimal experience. This is a new capability which gives you as a developer or a customer or a partner, whoever is actually building this, a option to pre-allocate space for a top or a bottom placeholder. And like I said, that's going to then mean that there you will not see this kind of a movement on the page because you're able to say that, hey, my top placeholder, which I'm rendering in the top, will need 50 pixel height space, because it will place itself over there whenever the page loading is completed. And we actually allocate that 50 pixel size already on the server side with a kind of a hidden div. And then whenever the page has been completely loaded, then the placeholder has been replaced or the allocation has been placed with a actual application customizer. And the same for the bottom area as well. So you're able to kind of have this more nicer way of loading the page, so it doesn't flicker, it doesn't move as much as it did with the application customizers. This has been requested by quite a few ISVs who are building custom application customizers, and Nobosa will document this. We'll get all of the guidance available how you can actually do that. It is actually quite simple. It is as simple as actually updating a one column in the tenant-wide deployment list, tenant-wide extensions list in the application catalog if you are using the tenant-wide deployment, or adding a new attribute for the user custom action collection, and then you pre-allocate and book kind of the area on the page before your actual JavaScript is getting executed and loaded. So really cool stuff coming, how would I put it, in October timeframe. We'll probably get this one out. Now I'll move forward on the slides. So this one is really cool. I'm going to actually quickly show this. Thank you, Hugo Bernhard for making this happen. For quite a few times, and quite a long time, we've been having a discussion on how do we make the SharePoint Framework samples more easily approachable for everybody in the community. So we do have quite a lot of samples as an example, in the SPFx Webparts GitHub repo, but there's a lot of samples. They're inside of the folders, and it's not easy to find what's relevant for you, and then you need to go there and all of that. So we had some plans internally, and those plans hasn't yet been realized. But then Hugo volunteered and did a really awesome job based on the work what actually Chris Kent did on the list formatting side of the repo. So we took what Chris had done and then modified that, and Hugo did a brilliant job on making this happen. So let me actually show this one in practice, and this is in quotes coming now to preview, whatever that means in practice, but basically it is already available. And if you have good ideas on how it should look like and how do we improve that, please give us feedback. So if you go AKMS SPFx Webparts, that's actually a redirection. The sharepoint.github.com/spdevfx Webparts GitHub pages. So this one is hosted on the same repo, and this basically then introduces what do we have. But the meat of everything is the fact that you can go, for example, samples by framework, and then you are able to filter down. If you would be interested in creating knockout samples, you can find them, or React samples, you can find them, and they are in the order of freshness. So what is the latest which has been updated or shared in the GitHub repo? Vue.js samples, Angular samples, knockout samples by author. So you're able to then search. For example, Bill Ayers has done a few nice web parts related on how to use the technology. You can easily find them from using this gallery. So really, really, really great implementation from Hugo around this one. Also, year or compatibility is related on the is it actually working in 2019, or is it working in Teams, only on SharePoint Online, or is it actually working in Teams as well? So you can easily find the sample. Here, Xiao's sample as an example, or Bob German's sample, or Luis Manes's sample as an example, and then I click that one, I will be redirected to the actual sample in GitHub. So then you know what's actually available. But really the key point of an objective is to make the samples more easily for you to consume. And sure, we still know that we should be updating those samples. These are community samples, so if there's any bugs or they don't compile or you want to upgrade them, your help is absolutely welcome there as well. And we're looking into options on making that happen as well. But really great capability on finding what's relevant. So compatibility, Microsoft Teams, Bob German's sample, clicking that one, poof, we're now on a Bob German's sample, and then we can actually see how to get started on using this. So really, really cool. Also, one of the key advantages of doing this is improved SEO. So the Google and Bing and other search engines will find all of this information more efficiently, which definitely should benefit out of this. Good. I think that's a quick intro on the sample gallery. So really cool stuff. Thank you, Hugo Bernier, for absolutely brilliant work on this one. And like I said, this is actually in the GitHub. If you are interested on actually helping on the pages or the structures and all of that, that's actually possible as well. So it's not just contributing on the samples. You can actually contribute on the structure and helping. And please do provide us feedback. Does it work? What should be improved? We are right now trying to make this, how would I put it, quite simple. So there is no database backend or anything like that. So everything what we see in these pages are directly backed by the GitHub. So we don't have to do any syncing or anything like that. But let's see how we move forward from here. We're also looking into making the same for extensions, because SharePoint Framework extensions repo is having quite a few samples as well, and people are clearly using those widely as well. But that's on that side.
PnP JS update version 2 is coming, got a big push. We were aiming for late September, but due to some delays on, I know I've had less time to work on it than I had hoped, so we're now shooting for early October to get a beta out there. Really want to thank everybody from the community who's gotten involved and helped out getting that ready. We've gotten a lot of great community support. There's still a few opportunities to help out and participate there. And then, of course, once we get the beta out, I would encourage everybody to help us test that. To get an idea of a little bit of the work or to help start contributing, you can follow that link there, AKMS PnP JS V2-start-contributing, to help get an introduction on how to get started with that. And then one of the things we're working on is getting the docs ready for beta and figuring out how we're going to publish them, because obviously the version 1 docs have to continue to be available while the version 2 docs are available. So we got some ideas there, but that's a to-do list. And we did take a decision. We're going to move the graph library over as is. We're not going to update the docs and the tests for the graph library, but we have updated it for the version 2 selective imports and the invocable support that we've talked about in the past. So that stuff will all be there in the graph library, but for reasons, we're not going to be updating the docs or the tests for the graph library. So that is going to be moved over kind of as is with what we have there. Want to thank Julie, Simon, and David again for helping coordinate this work and make sure things are running smoothly. But did also want to mention PnP JS V1. We will have a release in October. It's going to be mostly a couple of bug fixes, not a big deal. We did skip a September release, which I think is one of the first times we've missed a release in years. So apologies for that, but there wasn't really much to release. And also September turned out to be a particularly busy month for me personally. So we did not have a release in September. We will have one in October to capture some of the bug fixes and get, there's been a few issues and enhancements in the list that need some attention. So we will get that out as well in October. Link there to the current V1 documentation, pnp.github.io/pnpjs. Follow the hashtag PnPJS on Twitter, and you can always follow me at Mediocre Bowler on Twitter. So Office 365 CLI, big announcement, version 2 is now out. There's also a new beta 2.1.0 with support for retrieving the URL of the content type hub, removing Teams channels, creating Power App component framework projects, retrieving access tokens, and some bug fixes and improvements. If you haven't tried out the CLI, it is a fantastic cross-platform SharePoint administrative tool, and it allows you to script various updates and behaviors for your SharePoint interactions or graph interactions. through the command line. You can install the latest beta with npm install-g at pnp/office365-cli at next. And you can always get more information at that aka ms link O365CLI, the hashtag O365CLI on Twitter. There's as well a Gitter channel there, and again, that link to the docs. So if you haven't tried out the CLI, definitely give that a shot. It's a fantastic cross-platform solution. Gives you a lot of fantastic commands, really easy to use, and really powerful in terms of managing your SharePoint deployments, or setting up test environments, or setting up actual production environments. And there's no reason not to use it for that as well, of course. So the reusable components. So these are a set of React-based controls that have two flavors. The first is property controls. These are ones to use in the edit pane of your web parts. And the other is the reusable controls, or the controls React. And those are the controls designed to use in the body of your web parts or your application customizers. And those will show up already styled with the Office UI fabric. So it gives you a nice built-in look and feel, already ready to go, with a lot of great functionality. So you can save yourself a lot of time and provide your users and your customers with a very rich experience right out of the box. So those are now, beta 1.16 is out. And there's the most recent new controls, rather, the file picker, a grid layout control, and then as well a carousel. So great to see that stuff getting added in, and a lot of different options and things you can do to play with. And those, again, are React-based controls. So for your React projects, check those out. It's a great resource to really jumpstart, speed up your development time, and also provide a very consistent experience for your users. And last but not least, the Community Yeoman generator. So this is a Yeoman generator built on top of the out-of-the-box SharePoint Framework generator. So if you use this generator, you end up with a quote-unquote real SharePoint Framework project with all the same dependencies and all the same supporting libraries and such from Microsoft, but you also have a lot of additional options for setting up and including different things into your project that you wouldn't have with the standard out-of-the-box SharePoint Framework generator, such as the ability to have handlebars, view, Angular, things like that, and include a lot of external libraries very easily. So PnP JS, the reusable controls we mentioned before, jQuery, Webpack features, Vue, the CLI is in there, and then as well style lint. So a lot of great capabilities to, again, sort of streamline and speed up your development. So this really helps out if you are using SharePoint Framework, but you need a little bit more than the standard SharePoint Framework generator can give you right out of the gate. So it can save you a lot of setup time and a lot of repetitive work getting your project set up to use those other technologies. So definitely check that out. Version 1.10 is out now as the latest version. You can always install that at npm install-g at pnp/generator-spfx. Documentation link there, aka MS PnP generator, and there is as well a Gitter channel where you can ask questions. So check all that out. And as always, we said earlier in the call, welcome feedback across all of these. Welcome your participation in all of these offerings we have, be it the generator, the controls, the CLI, or PnP JS. Absolutely welcome you to get involved in one or more of those if you are so inclined. Everybody is absolutely encouraged to do that. And I think our next slide will be about the demos. I've only gone through this deck a million times. So our first demo, Alaa is, I believe I saw him on the call earlier. If he's ready to go, he can start sharing his screen.
Thank you. Okay, so I will just start. So first of all, of course, thank you for giving me this opportunity to do a short demo. So my name is Alaa Bitar. I'm come from Lebanon, but I've been living in Switzerland since a year and a half now. Basically, I'm a SharePoint addict since 2007. So yes, guilty as charged. But I'm also an Office 365 and SharePoint consultant for a consulting company called Serial, which is part of a larger group in Europe called the Positive Thinking Company. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer, and this I'm sharing my GitHub and my LinkedIn profile if you want to follow me. Before I jump into the demo, I would just like to give you like a bit of context of what I will share with you. The main idea was to give the opportunity of any for any SharePoint user to per se copy paste an existing SharePoint site. So you have like a template, an existing SharePoint site, and you want to clone it, but not just okay the look and feel, the pages and the web parts inside of it, but also the documents that are in different document libraries. So the solution that I will be presenting is basically an SPFx Webpart that is just like a React form that will trigger a PowerShell Azure function that will use the PnP provisioning engine to do basically three things. The first thing, it will save the template for the selected site. Then it will create like a blank site, just a regular one, and then it will apply the saved template to this site. So let me show you my amazing SPFx Webpart. So this is it. Basically, it has two fields: the name of the site and this drop-down list that is basically bound to what are the different sites that you tagged as templates. So you can, I've created like two templates, and I have two buttons. So if I select a template, I can open the template just to see how it looks. So basically this template has a welcome page with some quick links and a Twitter web part. It has a document library where I put a simple PDF. If we take a look at the other template, the V1 is a bit different. It has like the document library web part on the page, and I created like two different pages, one article, one Q&A, and I've created also a document library called Invoice, and with a PDF inside. So basically here I can say like new site template B. Okay, and I will hit the create site button, and because this is a test environment, so it is a bit slow. It takes a couple of minutes. So during the provisioning of the site, we will go through the web part and the Azure function. So I'm just hitting the create site. So I have a loader stating that it is in the saving site template. Then it will like create the name empty site, and then it will display the applying template, and a new tab will open with the on the new site template B URL. So basically the web part is not really fancy. This I have like this here the title, and what is maybe a bit interesting here is the drop down list that is binded to this this.state.template. So how I'm provisioning this this property is basically I have a template SharePoint list where I define my different let me show you, where I'll define my different available templates. So if I go here to available templates, here I just say that this template is called template A, and I'm just hard coding the URL of the site. So if we go back to the web part, basically the two buttons, like the first one, open the template. I'm just doing like a window.open for the selected items in the selected item in the drop-down list. But what is interesting is this one, create site button that is binded to the handle site creation function. So basically I created like a wrapper for calling an Azure function, and you just pass the JSON data that you want to post in for this Azure function, because this Azure PowerShell function is triggered by HTTP. So you just have to call it with a post, and you just send a JSON object in order to do it to tell the Azure function what you want to do. So if we go to the handle site creation function, so okay, first I just set the state to show this loading message, and then I'm calling the Azure function with those two properties in the JSON object. So I'm telling it basically the destination, the URL of the site that I want to, in the mode save template. So in the Azure function, I will show it to you in a bit. I have like a special case for the mode save template, and I look what is the destination. I'm connecting to this destination URL, and I'm saving the template for this destination URL. Then I'm calling the same Azure function, but this time with the mode create site, and I'm just passing by the title of the site that I want to create. So basically here we are creating a basic empty theme site. And then the last thing that we want to do, so no, not the last thing, before the last one per se, is to apply the template that we just created and we have just saved to the selected site that we just created. So this is why we passed mode apply template, and then when everything goes as expected, we just open the new created site. So let me just have a look on the. Okay, so now we passed the first mode, save template. We passed the second one, create a site, and now we are applying the template to the new created site. So if you have a look to the on the Azure PowerShell provisioning function. So basically here, at first I'm just getting what has been passed in the body of the call. I'm just like preparing the username and the password to create a credential object in order to connect. So here it is the first case, the save template. So I'm connecting to the site, and then I'm just overriding a bit the save directory, because what I want is to have a folder per site. So basically, I'm creating a folder by the name of the title. So here it is template B or A, I think. I don't remember. Let me just check. It is template B. And here it has finished. So it opened like a new tab, and hopefully it will look like almost the same site as my template site. So it looks good till now. Let's just see if it is loading right, the web part, but we can come back for it a bit, maybe. Okay, I will come back for it once it has fully loaded. So okay, so I'm just specifying the name of the template file, XML. And then I'm just calling the get PnP provisioning templates, and really, I have to say this. Thank you for this little guy, this little new attribute. Include all client-side pages, because this has been like a new attribute that you added, guys, and it saves us a lot of time. So once I generated this this template, because the mechanism of the PnP provisioning is to save the structure of the site, but what I wanted to do also is to inject in this template the different document that I have in a site. So in order to do this, I just like getting the list of the different document libraries that I have in my SharePoint site, and with these two little guys, process folder and process subfolder, it is just two functions that I created. And basically, what is interesting here is this one. So for every file in a document library, I'm using the get PnP file. I'm downloading the file and using this add PnP file to provisioning template. It is like you are injecting in the template.xml file the name of the document and the URL for this document. So later, when you apply the template, so in your template file, you don't just have the structure, but you also have the documents and their corresponding URL. So when you just call the apply PnP provisioning template, PnP provisioning function, it will inject as well in your new site the different documents that were specified in your template .xml file. And just basically here the third mode is create site. I'm just like connecting to the instance, and I'm like adding a subsite to the to my parent site. So if we have a look here, so yes, it has fully loaded. I have my little text, I have my web part, and I also have my pages that were copied. So the article is like an empty one just with a picture, and the Q&A file is just some text, and I have also my invoices document library. So yes, it is basically it for me. Don't know if there is any question or.
So Patrick, if you don't mind, I just have to say that every single time I see that the provisioning engine to work without any problems like this, it just keeps on amazing me still. And I know, well, I even designed the original design for it. I don't write it anymore, but still. But it is really cool that you can live and do a runtime extraction and apply on an existing site. It's just really great.
The only thing that maybe we have to take in consideration is maybe the size of the files, because I have tested. Sure. You know, if you put like a 200 megabyte picture, so yes, it will take a bit of time to provision. But beside of that, it is really cool and really performant.
And like you said, there's now new options on actually exporting all of the pages, and pretty soon you can export all of the lists data as well, and documents. Okay. So really cool stuff as well.
Yeah. Even for the list data, you can like do a bit. There is a function that you can like inject in the template .xml. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, already today. Now, just. Sorry for jumping, Patrick, there, but I think from a timing perspective, I think we need to go to another demo.
George is up next. George, if you are ready to go, you can share your screen. And
hi, guys. I'll share my screen.
Take it away, George.
Okay, perfect. So I'm George. I work as a solutions architect for Bernhard Schulte Shipmanagement. Been working with SharePoint Framework for the past 2.5 years, 3 years. And SharePoint 2013 before that. So today we'll be seeing how to create a Teams tab. We're using SPFx, React.js, and Material UI with a little bit of Google Maps. So just closing the image here, and this is a solution working within Teams. So what do we have here? This is a normal team, nothing special about it. Just we have this this web part here. It loads from a SharePoint list, and it gets all the different locations, and then it displays it here on the right. And obviously, it allows the admin to see this Manage Trainees button. If we look through another user's perspective that is not an admin, the button is not there, just so that you get an idea. And yeah, I can just show you how I get about doing this. Going with the script. So you start off normally using the PnP SPFx setup, because for material UI you need to have TypeScript 3 and up. So I'm using 3.5 in this case. And first things that you need to do is you go into, well, once obviously it's done scaffolding and provision and so on.
Hey, George, sorry to interrupt you. Could you increase your font size? Could you zoom in just once or twice?
Yeah, it's
it'll show up a little bit better in the video.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, you go into the manifest JSON file. First things first, for the Teams tab to be supported is in here. Just adding this Teams tab will make it allowed to be installed on Teams. The rest of the information just stays as it is. Nothing more special on this page. Then the other thing that we need to set up going into the TypeScript file is we need to install to import this here, the Microsoft Teams JS component, because this gives us the context, and this comes in very handy when it comes to know what team you're on and what permissions are, which is used now for my managing trainees button. And yeah, so adding this, you need to have just define it here, push it in, and make sure that you're giving it for the React file to read the data. And then going to the TypeScript, the React file. Sorry. I'm importing in my my material UI and the Google Maps. I'm just using React Google Maps in this case, and the material UI just using the button and the with styles. Obviously, material UI needs some theming capabilities here. And yeah, so what I'm doing is I do have my on init function here that defines the setup of the page. Right now, I have I'm putting in manually the team that I wanted to fetch the information from, because the list is sitting on a SharePoint team. So I'm putting it here directly, but it could have taken it from the properties, or to make it a reusable component, or it could take the current page of that the team is working on. If this was let's say like the documents that always exists on a SharePoint site, it could have taken that out directly instead of me putting the string here. So I'm just fetching the map and just some Google Maps things here. Obviously the API, and this is the part as well that gives us the user role. So this is basically checking to see from the team context, which is given by the props. And first is checking if it exists. And once it exists, then it shows the user role. And if the user role is an admin, which is 0, then it shows the button. And obviously, then if it shows a button, it just loads a function that would then load the admin page. And I realized that I forgot to show that part. So jumping back onto browser, if I am an admin and I click this button, it will take me to the site. It's very easy to, right now it's provisioned to be used through SharePoint lists. It doesn't have to be this way. You could put the entire CRUD within the teams. It's just I thought for this example, we'll just keep it like this. I'll just put a trainee. I'll add, and I'll just choose the location. So I'll just choose Cyprus for the sake of it. And if I go back on my teams and refresh it, and this is here, as you can see. And if I click on the pin here, it shows as well. And let's say if I want to move a trainee, change location, I just edit from my list here. Just drop down, select Greece, and it's saved. And if I go back on my team here, and yep, Glant is moved here. So that's how the list gets updated. So next part is we want to package the solution, and to package it, there is from the Microsoft documentation, there is a way to the sample for this manifest file. This is needed in order for Teams to be, well, I guess to have it deployed on Teams. So there's a sample of this manifest file. You just need to pay attention on, just put a new GUID here. Make sure like the version is still the same as the packages solution. And what is important here is the configuration URL, which is basically taking it from a specific team. And obviously some icons here need to happen. And so yeah, that's for the manifest file. So you do run a normal gulp build, bundle, package solution, and so on. It does give you an SP package file. And if I just bring this up, it does give you the, I didn't build this one, anyway. Sorry. So it does give you a package file, SharePoint package file, and then you do bring it here as normal. You upload it, but the first time you do it, it'll ask you to deploy. It will deploy it as a SharePoint application. And then to make it available for Teams, you need to press this button to then allow you to see it within Teams, to install it onto your team. And the second time you do it, it will say fail to deploy, but it does it. It only needs one time to do it. And the other thing, you need to be a tenant admin for this. Being just a SharePoint admin does not allow you to install it properly. That's a little thing to know. And then afterwards, once all those steps are done, we can find it here. If I browse for more apps, you can see here build for SP Shark, which is the tenant that I'm working on right now. And you can find it here. Once you install it, add it to a team. And well, if I had an extra team here, it would show, oh, there it is. So if I want to install it there, I can set up a team. Yes, however, one more thing, in order for the application to work, you need to have it installed on the site as well. You need to have it on Teams on your SharePoint site here. Otherwise, Teams will try to load the application and it'll say, I don't have anything to read because the information is not here. You need to go normally, install an app, and then select it and get it here. And if you are updating your application, you need to again do the same thing. Change it within the apps, check it in, go into the site contents of the team, and then click the details and get the latest version. And this will update the web part within Teams. And here, if you had any reusable controls that you wanted to use here, you could just put it here. Obviously, description field, I'm not using it for anything, but you could have had like a list that you want the data to come from, or I don't know, like other files, or importing the users from here, perhaps. It's entirely up to you, but the capabilities are here. You do have access to the properties. And I think that's it. I'm seeing the time as well. Do we have any questions?
Thanks, George. Just a comment on on installing the requirement of installing and everything else. There's a few different options over there. So if you do deploy the web part as a tenant scope deployed web part, then you don't need to explicitly that to be installed on a site. So there's a few different options here, but you're absolutely correct. If you want to have the web part only exposed to this Teams, and then you have to explicitly install this to the site, and then it wouldn't be available and visible on other areas. So few things, and I will need to definitely double check our documentation that it's 100% up to date on the different options and scenarios, but cool looking thing. Just out of curiosity, just obviously, because I'm a Microsoft guy, why did you choose to use Google, the styling? Why not? Is that
why Material UI?
Exactly.
I just thought it's a good question. I have been using it before, and I kind of like the being alternative sometimes on some, like giving a different look, because if people look like something and it looks like SharePoint, they might not like it. But if it looks a little bit different, oh, you did something here.
Yeah,
and that seems to be the culture in my company.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one, so it makes perfect sense. But this actually the demo demonstrates nicely that it doesn't matter what React components or things you want to use. Everything works in the context of SharePoint Framework. So up to you. How do you want to implement things? Absolutely. But I'm going to now, Patrick, share my screen because I have the presentation still here waiting. You can actually close up, right?
Thank you, Alaa. Thank you, George, for 2 great demos today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the call, and thank you for everybody that will watch this later on the recording. Our next SPFx JavaScript SIG meeting will be in 2 Thursdays on October 10th, 2019, and our next general SharePoint development SIG meeting will be next Thursday, October 3rd. So be sure to check that out, and that's it. So learn, reuse, share. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye-bye-bye.